This is not a story about shouting. It is not about revenge. It is not about dramatic escapes. This is the story of a woman whose strength lived in silence. A woman who endured without applause. Who carried pain without complaint. Who kept families together while slowly disappearing inside herself. Her strength was never loud, but it never broke. This story follows her from youth to middle age. From obedience to awakening. From silence to self-respect. It is about invisible sacrifices. About being the strong one for everyone else. About choosing peace after a lifetime of being chosen last. If you have ever felt unseen. If you have ever been called strong while breaking inside. If you have ever survived quietly. This story is for you. If you are a story lover, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and stay with us for more true emotional stories. Now I start the story. She was never the woman people worried about. She was the woman people relied on. From a young age she learned that being easy made life smoother. That silence avoided conflict. That endurance was praised more than honesty. In her family she was the calm one, the understanding one, the girl who did not complain, the girl who adjusted. When something went wrong she fixed it. When someone was upset she softened herself. When others spoke loudly she stepped back. People said she was strong. They said it with admiration. But strength became a cage she never asked for. She married young. Not out of passion, but out of expectation. A good man, they said. A stable life they promised. Her husband was not cruel. But he was heavy. Heavy with needs. Heavy with moods. Heavy with silence that pressed against her chest. She learned how to read his footsteps. The way he closed doors. The tension in his breath. She became a master of prevention. Avoiding arguments. Smoothing sharp moments. Making herself smaller so peace could exist. When children came she gave herself completely. Her body. Her sleep. Her dreams. She did not lose herself suddenly. She disappeared slowly. Years passed in repetition. Morning routines. Packed lunches. Clean floors. Unpaid emotional labor. She was the one who remembered birthdays. Doctor appointments. School meetings. Family obligations. She held everyone together, while no one held her. When she felt tired she was told she was strong. When she felt overwhelmed she was told others had it worse. When she felt invisible she told herself it was normal. Her pain had no name, because nothing looked broken. But something inside her was cracking quietly. At 45 she stood in front of the mirror one morning, and did not recognize the woman staring back. Her eyes were tired. Not from lack of sleep, but from lack of being seen. Her body moved automatically. Her voice sounded distant even to herself. She asked a question she had never asked before. Is this all my life will be? The question frightened her, because she had no answer. That day nothing dramatic happened. No argument. No collapse. Just a quiet realization. That endurance without joy is not strength. It is survival. She began noticing small things. How often she apologized. How rarely she rested. How her needs always came last. She noticed how people were comfortable taking from her, because she never said no. Her strength had made her invisible. The first time she said no it felt wrong. Her heart raced. Her hands shook. Someone asked her for something unreasonable. Something she would normally give without thought. And instead she paused, breathed, and said no. The room did not explode. The world did not end. But inside her something shifted. That no was small. Almost invisible. But it was the loudest sound she had ever made. She felt guilt immediately. Years of conditioning rising in her chest. But beneath the guilt, there was relief. She realized something important. People benefited from her silence. But she was the one paying the price. Her strength had never been loud. But it had been constant. Unending. Unquestioned. And now for the first time, she questioned it. That night she lay awake. Not from anxiety, but from awareness. She thought about her younger self. The girl who swallowed words. The woman who swallowed dreams. She did not feel anger. She felt grief. Grief for the life she lived quietly. For the parts of herself she hid to survive. But grief turned into resolve. She would not become loud. She would not become cruel. She would not become unrecognizable. She would simply become honest. And honesty was terrifying. Because honesty meant disappointing people. Honesty meant boundaries. Honesty meant change. Her strength was never loud, but it was about to change direction. And this time, it would protect her. After that first no, she noticed how often the world tested her silence. Requests came dressed as expectations. Favors came disguised as duty. Emotional weight arrived without asking permission. Before, she would have accepted everything, smiled, adjusted, absorbed. Now, she paused. Pausing felt rebellious, as if time itself was watching her. People noticed the change before she did. You are different, they said. You are distant. You are cold. But she was not cold. She was finally warm to herself. At home the shift was subtle. She no longer rushed to fill silence. She no longer explained herself endlessly. Her husband sensed it. Not with words, but with discomfort. He asked if something was wrong. She said she was tired. Not tired from work, but tired from carrying everything alone. He did not understand, because he never had to. 4 years her strength had protected him, shielded him from responsibility, from emotional effort, from seeing her fully. Now that shield was lowering. Small changes unsettled him. She stopped fixing moods, stopped anticipating needs, stopped apologizing for existing. Arguments did not increase, but distance did. And in that distance, she felt something unexpected. Peace. She began taking walks alone. No destination, just movement. She felt the air on her skin, heard her own thoughts clearly. For the first time in decades, she realized how much noise she had lived with. Not loud noise, but constant emotional pressure. Being needed, being dependable, being available. She was always available, and that availability had cost her everything. One afternoon she sat in a cafe alone, watching people pass by. She imagined different versions of herself, the woman she could have been, the dreams she postponed, the choices she never made. There was sadness, but there was also freedom. She understood something crucial. You cannot heal in the same role that wounded you. Strength that never rests becomes damage. She started therapy quietly, without announcing it, without seeking permission. In that room, she spoke honestly for the first time, about resentment, about exhaustion, about how being strong became her prison. She learned that silence is not always peace. Sometimes it is fear wearing patience. She learned that love does not require disappearance. That sacrifice without choice is not love. Each session peeled another layer. Not violently, but gently. She stopped judging herself for staying so long. She stopped blaming herself for not knowing sooner. She had survived the only way she knew how. At home the tension grew. Her husband asked why she had changed. She said she had not changed. She had woken up. That sentence landed heavily. He accused her of being selfish, of abandoning the family emotionally. She listened, calm, present. And then she said something that surprised even her. I am not abandoning anyone. I am returning to myself. The room went quiet. She did not shout. She did not cry. Her strength was still not loud, but it was unmovable. That night she slept deeply, not because things were solved, but because she had spoken truth. Truth does not always fix relationships, but it always fixes something inside. She realized something else. Strength does not mean staying forever. It means knowing when staying becomes self-betrayal. She was not planning to leave. Not yet. But she was no longer afraid of the possibility. Fear had kept her compliant. Awareness made her brave. Her children noticed the change too. They saw a mother who smiled more, who laughed without checking the room. They felt lighter, because she was lighter. She learned that strength does not need witnesses. It only needs honesty. And for the first time, she trusted herself. Her strength was never loud, but it was becoming free. The days that followed were quieter, not peaceful, but honest. Silence no longer felt like avoidance, felt like space. She noticed how much energy honesty required. Not dramatic honesty, but the steady kind that does not bend. Her husband watched her carefully, as if waiting for the old version to return, the one who softened everything, the one who carried what he avoided. But she did not return. Instead, she stayed present, calm, unavailable to manipulation. He tried kindness, then guilt, then distance. Each attempt once would have worked. Now she saw them clearly. She realized something important. Patterns lose power once they are named. She stopped explaining herself. Explanation had always been her weakness, a way to earn permission to exist. Now she spoke less, and meant more. One evening he asked her directly, "Are you planning to leave?" The question carried fear, not love. She answered truthfully, "I am planning to live." That answer did not comfort him, because it did not center him. She felt sadness, not regret. She mourned the version of love she believed in, the one built on endurance instead of equality. But mourning did not weaken her. It clarified her. She began setting boundaries that felt unnatural, leaving conversations when they turned dismissive, saying no without justification, choosing rest without guilt. Every boundary felt like learning a new language. Awkward, necessary. Her body responded first. Shoulders relaxed. Breathing slowed. Sleep deepened. The body always knows before the mind catches up. People outside her home reacted differently. Some admired her change. Others resented it. "You have changed," they said. "You are not as helpful as before." She smiled, because helpfulness had once been her survival tool. She understood now. Some people benefit from your silence, and they will resist your voice. She no longer needed approval. She needed alignment. Her children began asking questions about happiness, about choice, about self-respect. She answered honestly, without bitterness, without blaming. She told them strength is not endurance alone. Strength is honesty with yourself. They listened, not just with ears, but with relief. They were learning that love does not require self-erasure. One morning she stood alone by the window, the same place where years earlier she felt invisible. This time she saw herself clearly, a woman who had carried everyone, a woman who never broke, but had bent too long. She felt gratitude for her past self, the one who survived, the one who stayed when she had no tools to leave. She forgave herself fully. Forgiveness did not mean approval. It meant release. Later that day her husband said something quietly. "I do not recognize you anymore." She replied gently, "That is because you never really saw me before." There was no anger in her voice, only truth. Truth does not attack. It reveals. She realized something final. Strength that is loud seeks validation. Strength that is quiet seeks peace. Her strength was never loud, but now it was unbreakable. And whatever came next, she knew one thing. She would never abandon herself again. Change does not always arrive with doors closing. Sometimes it arrives with clarity. She did not wake up one day and decide to leave. She woke up and realized she was already gone inside. Gone from waiting. Gone from hoping. Gone from negotiating her worth. What remained was calm. That calm scared others, because calm cannot be controlled. Her husband sensed the shift, not through words, but through absence of reaction. She no longer argued, no longer defended, no longer chased understanding. This silence was different from the old one. The old silence was fear. This silence was choice. One evening she packed a small bag. Not dramatically, not secretly, just honestly. He watched her, confused, angry, helpless. "Where are you going?" he asked. She answered without shaking, "I am choosing myself." That sentence carried decades inside it. There was no fight, no pleading, no scene, only the sound of a woman stepping out of a life that no longer fit. She moved into a small place. Simple, quiet. The first night alone felt unfamiliar. Not lonely, just new. She sat on the edge of the bed and breathed. For the first time her breath belonged only to her. She noticed how silence can heal, when it is not forced. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. She learned herself again. Her preferences, her limits, her joy. She discovered she liked mornings. She liked walking without destination. She liked choosing. Her children visited, and something changed in their eyes. They saw her lighter, present, alive. They learned that strength does not mean staying at any cost. People asked questions, some with concern, some with judgment. She answered calmly, "This is what peace looks like for me. Peace does not need permission." She began speaking at small gatherings, not loudly, not to impress, but honestly. Women listened, because honesty recognizes honesty. She never called herself brave, but others did. She knew the truth. She was not fearless. She was faithful to herself. Her story was never about leaving a man. It was about returning to herself. She did not scream. She did not destroy. She did not demand applause. She chose quietly, firmly. Finally, her strength was never loud, but it carried her through years of silence, through expectation, through self-doubt, and when it was time, did not break. It walked. This is the kind of strength that changes generations, not through noise, but through example. And if you are listening to this story, feeling something shift inside you, remember this. You do not need to be loud to be strong. You only need to stop abandoning yourself.